The Taft Studios lot was quiet. Too quiet. A place once filled with the laughter of children now echoed with a chilling silence. The sun baked the faded pastel paint of the main building, where the Banana Splits Adventure Hour was once filmed. Today, July 19th, 2025, it was a tomb. Reports spoke of disappearances, of crew members vanishing without a trace. The air itself felt heavy, thick with an unseen dread that clung to you like a spider's web. It was a place where happy memories had been left to rot, and something terrible had grown in their place, something with cold, mechanical eyes. Two figures approached the studio entrance, their shadows stretching long and thin in the afternoon light. Giovanna, with his golden hair and determined gaze, walked with a quiet confidence that seemed out of place in this decaying wonderland. Beside him was Guido Mista, his mismatched hat pulled low, his eyes darting nervously from side to side. They weren't here for a show. They were here to uncover a truth, a dark secret whispered on the streets of Naples. They were investigators sent by their organization to find out why this place of joy had become a vortex of fear. Every step closer to the stage doors felt like a step into a monster's waiting jaws. They pushed open the heavy doors, and a wave of stale, sugary air washed over them. The main stage was a nightmare. The once vibrant set was now a landscape of ruin and shadow. Garlands of plastic flowers drooped like dying weeds. The colorful bandstand was scarred with deep metallic gouges. And on that stage, two figures stood motionless under a single flickering spotlight. It was Fleegle, the Beagle, and Drooper, the Lion. But their friendly felt costumes were torn, revealing gleaming steel skeletons beneath. Their painted smiles seemed frozen in a permanent, malicious sneer. They weren't mascots anymore. They were predators. The silence was shattered by a screech of grinding gears. Fleagle's head swiveled with an unnatural speed, its glassy eyes locking onto the intruders. Drooper's jaw unhinged, letting out a distorted burst of static that sounded like a corrupted laugh track. This wasn't a malfunction. This was a hunt.
Giorno, I've got a bad feeling about this. These things aren't here to entertain. They're here to kill.
Giorno and Mista drew their weapons. The glint of Mista's revolver a stark contrast to the decaying cheerfulness of the room. The happy-go-lucky theme song was over. A new, far more dangerous show was about to begin, and they were the unwilling guest stars. The curtain had risen on a stage set for a terrifying battle. The attack came without warning. A blur of yellow and brown fur. Fleegle lunged forward, its metallic claws extended, aiming to tear through flesh and bone. The animatronic moved with a horrifying speed, its heavy footsteps thudding against the stage like a drumbeat of doom.
Whoa, take this, you metal freak!
Mista reacted instantly, firing a volley of shots from his revolver. Sparks flew as bullets ricocheted off the Beagle's reinforced chassis, the loud cracks of the gun echoing through the cavernous studio. The machine didn't even flinch. It just kept coming, its painted smile a mask for its singular, deadly purpose. This was no simple robot. It was a killing machine. Giorno summoned his stand, Gold Experience, its ethereal form shimmering into existence beside him. He needed to get closer, to touch the machine and infuse it with life, to turn its own mechanics against it. As Fleegle swiped at Mista, Giorno saw his chance. He dodged under a sweeping metal arm and punched the animatronic's leg, but nothing happened. The metal was too dense, too lifeless for his power to take root. A cold dread washed over him. His ultimate ability was useless. He was just a boy, facing down a monster of steel and wire. Meanwhile, Drooper, the lanky lion, had set its sights on Mista. It swung its banjo like a battle axe, the instrument reinforced with sharpened steel.
Crap, out of the way!
Mista scrambled backward, firing wildly as the banjo smashed into the floor where he had just been standing, sending splinters of wood flying everywhere. He was running out of bullets and options. The two machines were relentless, a perfectly coordinated duo of destruction. They fought with a cold, calculated precision that no human could match. Every dodge was a near miss, every shot a futile gesture against their armored bodies. The cheerful stage props became deadly obstacles in a frantic dance of survival. Giorno had to think of a new plan. He spotted a massive stage light hanging precariously from a frayed rope above Fleegle.
Giorno, whatever you're thinking, do it fast!
Shouting to Mista to provide cover, he raced towards the rigging controls at the side of the stage. Gold Experience flew ahead, its fists a blur as it pummeled the control panel, short-circuiting the gears. With a groan of tortured metal, the heavy light fixture broke free. It plummeted downwards, crashing directly onto Fleegle with a deafening clang. The animatronic Beagle crumpled under the weight, its limbs twitching before finally going still. One down.
Error. Show must go on.
But Drooper simply turned its head, its soulless eyes now fixed on them both. Miles away, yet intimately connected, Leone, Abbacchio and Trish watched the chaos unfold. They were sequestered in a remote surveillance van parked discreetly near the studio lot, its interior a nest of monitors and humming electronics. Each screen showed a different camera feed from inside the studio, a mosaic of terror. Abbacchio, ever the cynic, watched with a tense, professional detachment, his arms crossed tightly. Trish, however, couldn't hide her fear. Her hands were clasped over her mouth as she watched Giorno and Mista fight for their lives against the mechanical monstrosities. Every gunshot, every metallic crash, echoed through the van's speakers, making the small space feel like a coffin. Suddenly a new sound cut through the audio feed, a playful yet menacing toot-toot.
That's not coming from inside. Trish, get ready. Something's wrong.
Abbacchio's eyes narrowed, scanning the monitors for the source. It wasn't coming from the stage. It was coming from outside the van. Before he could react, the vehicle's side door was ripped from its hinges with a violent shriek of tearing metal.
Oh no, 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 no.
Standing in the opening were two more figures from the forgotten show, Snorky, the silent elephant, and Bingo, the goofy gorilla. Their eyes glowed with the same red malevolence as their brethren, their movements jerky and unnatural. They had been found. The sanctuary had become a trap. The two animatronics stormed the confined space. Snorky, with its long trunk, began smashing the delicate surveillance equipment, plunging the van into darkness as monitors exploded in showers of sparks. Bingo, meanwhile, lunged for Abbacchio, who barely managed to summon his stand Moody Blues to replay the gorilla's movements and anticipate the attack.
Moody Blues now.
Trish screamed, scrambling to the back of the van as the two machines turned their home base into a whirlwind of destruction.
Somebody help, please.
It was a close-quarters battle, a frantic struggle amidst shattered glass and severed wires. The happy theme song of the Banana Splits played from a speaker on Bingo's chest, a twisted nursery rhyme for their demise. In the chaos, the two machines, driven by flawed and corrupted programming, turned on each other. Snorky swung its heavy trunk, catching Bingo square in the chest and sending it crashing into the main console. In retaliation, Bingo grabbed Snorky by the head and slammed it repeatedly against the van's metal wall. Sparks erupted, wires snapped, and with a final deafening explosion of overloaded circuits, both animatronics collapsed in a heap of smoking, intertwined metal.
Are they gone?
They had destroyed each other. But the damage was done. The van was wrecked, and in the sudden eerie silence, Abbacchio and Trish stared at each other. Their faces illuminated by the flickering emergency lights, their nerves frayed beyond repair. The destruction of their attackers did not bring relief. It brought something worse. The shared terror, the adrenaline, the fight for survival. It all curdled into a toxic brew of blame and fear. Abbacchio, his face a mask of cold fury, turned on Trish.
This is your fault. If you hadn't panicked, I could have handled them.
My fault? You just stood there. You let them corner us.
The stress of the attack had shattered their composure, exposing the raw, jagged edges of their personalities. The fight was no longer against the machines. It was against each other. Their stand abilities manifested, born from their rage. Moody Blues began to rewind the events, its form flickering as Abbacchio sought to prove his point, to show her where she had failed. But Trish's Spice Girl lashed out, striking the floor and making the very metal of the van soft and rubbery, throwing him off balance. Their argument escalated into a physical confrontation, a tragic and desperate battle within the claustrophobic, ruined van. They were no longer comrades. They were just two terrified people, consumed by a fight that had no winner, their powers clashing in a beautiful, horrifying display of light and sound. In the end, their rage was their undoing. In a final, desperate lunge, Abbacchio's Moody Blues moved to strike, while Trish's Spice Girl slammed its fist into the van's ceiling. The softened metal gave way, bringing a tangle of live wires and heavy equipment crashing down upon them both. A final flash of light, a sickening crunch, and then silence. The emergency lights flickered one last time and died, plunging the van into absolute darkness. Their war was over, ending not with a bang but with a quiet, tragic finality. Two more souls claimed by the haunted studio lot. Back on the stage, the sun began to rise, its golden rays filtering through the grime-caked skylights of the studio. The battle was long over. Giorno and Mista stood amidst the wreckage, breathing heavily in the silent, dust-filled air. They were survivors, but the victory felt hollow. In their hands, they held trophies of their grim fight, the severed, empty heads of Fleegle and Drooper. They slowly placed the heads over their own, the dead painted smiles a grotesque mockery. They walked out of the studio and into the dawn, two silent figures wearing the faces of their defeated enemies. The boys who had entered the studio were gone, replaced by hardened survivors forever changed by the carnival of dread. The silence that followed them was the loudest sound of all.